If you could just see yourself, you look amazing. Thank you very much for this very warm welcome. It's a pleasure to be in Lisbon, but it's an even bigger pleasure to be at the Web Summit. And 6 centuries ago, explorers, they would stand here by the coastline, just as you do in a pause, and watch the Atlantic. And back in the days, centuries ago, well, that ocean was the edge of the world, the limit as to how far curiosity could go. Well, something was different. Those explorers, they saw further. And when they crossed the horizon, they discovered new things that changed the way Europeans saw the world. And that is what it feels like to be here, because this is the place where the future takes shape. And this future is arriving so fast that it becomes increasingly difficult to say what shape it will take. I don't think that any of us, nor even you here today, can say what kind of digital technology will we have in 10 or in 20 years. But one thing we can safely say, it will change our lives. And this is not just the life of investors or founders or regulators. This is the life of every citizen. And it will affect us in our daily lives, of course, as it already does. Parents looking for an app that will produce more hours during the day. Workers whose routines and daily work will be highly influenced by data. And every single one of us, whether connected or not, even if we completely check out today, will still be affected because our democracy digitalizes. At least for me, and maybe for you as well, these days, this revolution may be somewhat like riding a roller coaster, never being exactly sure what will be the next turn and the next twist. The thing about riding a roller coaster is that it can be great fun, but you only enter when you are sure that you are going to be safe. And I think that is the fundamental challenge that we are facing right now, if we're going to be safe. How to give people the confidence that they are safe, that the most fundamental values, what we believe in, that we can still sustain this. Digital technology has immense powers to do good. But with immense powers, of course, also comes great risks. And it's not an attack on technology to acknowledge that those risks are real. Of course not. It is obvious all the good it brings in the daily lives, helping us to stay in touch, enabling people with very critical diseases or disabled to gain a completely new quality of life. It widens our political debate. It gives access for people who didn't have access before. And yet, at the same time, well, it produces harmful, untrue information that spreads even faster than ever before, unleashing violence, undermining democracy. So data gives us a new understanding of the world. But when just a few companies hold lots and lots of data, it can make it very, very hard for anyone else to compete against them. And without competition, well, consumers are not well served. Artificial intelligence will help us to take faster, better decisions. It will give us more time to spend on things that we really like to do. But when we rely on consumers to take decisions, well, we face the risk that they might be trained to reproduce the prejudice of the past. Or they might not be trained to avoid breaking the law. So before we can embrace the possibilities of technology for full, we need to know that those risks are being dealt with. We need to know that we can trust technology and what companies delivers with technology, that it is for us and not to harm us as consumers. I think that lately, for many people, that trust has been harmed. People have seen their data being stolen, being misused. They have seen companies abusing enormous powers in the markets at the expense of consumers. The good news is that the right rules can help us fix this problem. When you go home, when I go home, well, the thing is that every night we enter a home full of mortal dangers. Well, our electrical appliances, the wires, they could kill us in an instant if it doesn't work. If we plug in a faulty product, yet we hardly think about it. Why would we? We're so used to the fact that we have rules, that these rules are being followed, so that our home becomes a safe place. For me, that's an inspiration. I learned from that we can get away from this idea that there is a conflict between tech optimists and tech pessimists, that there is a conflict between those who welcome technology and those who want it to be safe. And I think that we can learn that by making technology safe, well, that is the way for make it trusted and accepted. So the time is over when the digital world could escape the rules that apply for us in our offline lives. What happens online doesn't remain online. If you meet someone just outside this building who would try to engage you in terrorism, if another person would try to sell you a pirate copy of a DVD, or if someone decided to fix prices, or indeed ran a business that didn't respect workers' rights, obviously you would all expect authorities to step in and to fix it, to take down people who break the law. And there's no reason why this should be different, because the internet is involved. Anyway, we're dealing with things that we have discussed, and discussed in depth before decisions were taken, rules were made, and rules were put into real life and followed. It is true that the digital world runs on innovation. And it is also true that without rules, you can do a lot of new things. But the innovation we want is not the innovation that is made by getting around the rules. The reason why innovation matters is because it makes our lives better. So there's no need to ask people to give up values like democracy, privacy, fairness, in the name of innovation. The innovation we need should protect those values, build on those values, enable those values in real life. Because this is what society is about. Democracy, fairness, the possibility also to live a private life. And good rules even can make innovation thrive. It can be the necessary challenge you need to get creative. And competition rules, well, part of their role is to make sure that big company doesn't hold back on innovation. For many years, Google has been one of our great innovators. But why would we put all our hopes of the future in the hands of just one company? The real guarantee of an innovative future comes from keeping markets open so that anyone, big, small, can compete to produce the very best ideas. And no matter how much Google has done, helping us navigate the web, or making Android an operating system open source, well, we cannot look away when it threatens to lock down competition. When it denies rivals the chance to strike deals to pre-install its app on Android phones, or when it takes away the benefits of open source software. The exact benefit of open source software that anyone with the skills can adapt and improve it. This is not the only way that competition law can help us as people and can help to make technology serve people and not the other way around. We can make sure that mergers doesn't harm competition by putting data that you really need for innovation in the hands of just one company. Of course, it's not necessarily so that a merger that involves a lot of data is bad news. When Apple bought the music recognition service Shazam, it got hold of data about people who were using the streaming services of Apple's competitors. But we found that this data wasn't so important. It wasn't really what made it easier for Apple to compete against others. And even when data is important, it's not necessarily special. When Microsoft bought LinkedIn, we wanted to know whether Microsoft could use this exclusive access to LinkedIn data to drive rivals out of the market. But no, that wasn't the case. But these two examples of mergers that involves amounts of data doesn't mean that we have closed down this operation. On the contrary, we will keep focusing, keep analyzing, keeping an eye. Because if one company gets hold of data that is really powerful, unique sets of data, that might just close down competition, and that we will not let happen. You need data to innovate. You need the insights that you can get from big data. And the thing is that it doesn't necessarily take a big company to have the critical mass of data to get innovative. I do hope that you see that nothing is stopping you from coming together as businesses and creating pools of data that allows you to innovate. Of course, there are data protection rules to be respected, and there are rules of competition, but still, we can do so much more in sharing data with one another and allowing innovation to thrive on that basis. Last but not least, of course, you realize that competition law enforcement is very close to my heart. But the thing is that it will not do the trick on its own. We need more. We also need to protect fundamental values, and we need to come together to do that. We need to protect our privacy with the new digital citizen rights that came into force just this year in May. One of the things that is clear is the data belongs to us. It is mine, it's my property. And we want to be able to control what happens to it. We want to make sure that platforms doesn't become a place where you can spread whatever very, very bad things to recruit to terrorism. So the Commission has proposed rules so that platforms will be obliged to take down terrorism propaganda within the hour. And we need also to come together to avoid cyber attacks, to avoid dark ads with unknown backers that undermine our democracy. And of course, we're being very careful so that we can protect the elections for the European Parliament that is coming up, so that you make up your mind because of what you think and what you believe in, and not because you're being manipulated. Because it is obvious that technology is changing our democracy, our society, our markets, the business opportunity, and it does it at the same time. So we have to do a number of things at the same time. And we also need to make sure that we look for things that do not really understand tech. For instance, taxation. It seems as if our tax laws doesn't really understand how value is created and how you're present. And that, of course, we will change as well. And we all have the obligation to teach our children to deal with it, just as well as we teach them how to deal with the electricity in our homes. And last but not least, there is a business responsibility here. It's not just a question of ethics, it's a question about being able to do business. Because when we help each other to make technology safe, then we create the trust that will enable a digital society in human scale, so that technology will serve us and not serve itself, as it has been our goal in our democracy, because this is the reason we have it. It's for us, for the citizens, for us as humans. And the reason why I'm so happy to be here today is because that we may not look at everything in the same way, but I think that we share the fundamentals that technology should serve us and help us to protect, to build, to develop the fundamentals of democracy, society, privacy, and chance. Thank you very much.